It was late, the kind of New York night where the streetlights looked tired and the snow had no mercy. I remember turning that corner and seeing her, this tiny girl on a bus stop bench, clutching a paper bag like it was the last thing she had. 3 teenage boys circled her, laughing too loud, too mean. One snatched the bag right from her lap and sneered, "What's this, crackers for your crackhead mama?" She tried to grab it back, hands shaking, whispering, "Give it back," but they just mocked her harder, calling her a dirty little rat in the snow. That's when my voice came out sharper than I expected. Hey, it cut the air clean, made them freeze. I stepped closer, black coat heavy on my shoulders, and said, "Back off. Touch her again and you'll be explaining it to the cops with your parents listening on speaker." They tried to laugh it off, but their swagger cracked and one muttered, "This guy's psycho." They dropped the bag and disappeared into the dark. She didn't cry, not anymore. She just sat there, fist-tight, breath coming out like broken glass. I crouched down and said softly, "I'm sorry that happened. Are you hurt?" She shook her head, wouldn't meet my eyes. I told her I won't touch you. "Okay, I just want to help." She finally looked up, eyes red, lips trembling, and asked one word that hit me harder than any insult ever could. Why, I didn't even know what to say at first. Then it came. "Because you're a child. It's freezing, and you shouldn't be out here alone." Her name was Maya. She'd gone out in the snow for soup for her sick mom. Shoes soaked through, hands purple, still trying to do right by the only family she had. I showed her my phone, my name, who I was, to prove I wasn't just some stranger. She squinted, then gasped, "You're that guy from TV, the one who made the robot that tells stories." And in that moment, trust flickered in her eyes. I carried her to my SUV. She weighed almost nothing. On the way, she whispered, "Thanks for yelling at them." I told her they had no right. "I'm sorry they made you feel small," she said quietly. "I always feel small." That was the night everything changed. At the urgent care clinic, doctors said frostbite was creeping in. At her apartment, I found her mother burning with fever, curled under thin blankets, a space heater buzzing like it was her last defense. Pneumonia. Complicated but treatable. I paid no questions asked. While she recovered in the hospital, the social worker warned me Maya might be placed in foster care, unless someone stepped forward. I'd never planned to be that someone. But I heard myself say, what if I apply for temporary guardianship? And just like that, a door I never thought I'd open swung wide. The days that followed were different. Pancakes at dawn, crayon drawings taped to marble walls, a teddy bear named Pancake sitting at our table like he paid rent. She laughed sometimes, still tested me other times. Once she said, "Everyone leaves." I told her not this time, and for the first time in years, I wanted those words to be true. But peace never lasts long. 3 weeks later, a man showed up in court, sharp suit, slick smile. Said his name was Darren Price, biological father, wanted custody. He hadn't been there when Maya was hungry, when her mom coughed blood when she was freezing at that bus stop. But his name was on paper, and sometimes paper speaks louder than love. In that small courtroom, Maya's tiny hand clutched my thumb. Darren's lawyer called me a stranger playing hero. The judge asked Maya if she had anything to say. She stood 6 years old, knees shaking, and said, "I don't want to go with him. He didn't come when we had no food. He didn't come when Mama was sick. But he came. He stayed." She pointed at me. "He makes me feel safe." Darren scoffed. "She's a child. She doesn't know what's best." I stood calm but burning inside and said, "With all respect, Your Honor, children often know better than adults what love feels like." I didn't plan any of this, but I made one promise to stay. And I'm still here. The judge ruled in my favor. Temporary guardianship stayed with me. And that night, Maya curled against my side and whispered, "That was really scary." I kissed her hair and told her, "You were really brave." But storms kept coming. Months later, another man appeared. Elena's estranged father, a wealthy businessman named Charles Holmes, claimed he had moral concerns about me raising Maya, painted me in the press as a billionaire playing charity with a black child. In court, his lawyers argued bloodlines, stability, discipline. I stood there and said, "I didn't plan to be a father, but that little girl made me one." Love isn't measured in blood. It's measured in presence. And I stayed. When he sneered that children didn't need teddy bears or bedtime stories, only structure, the judge leaned forward and said, "Sometimes structure is knowing someone won't leave." She denied his claim in full. Life became a rhythm again. Maya asked to change her name, wanted the world to see what her heart already knew. Anna Reed became Maya Reed. She read her first poem in front of her whole school about families built by choice, not blood, and the room erupted in applause. She even won a national award, read her words at the Library of Congress. She stood under that grand dome and said, "You don't have to match to belong. You just have to love." And strangers from across the country wrote letters saying her story gave them hope. But it wasn't always triumph. At school, one kid whispered, "He's not even your real dad, he just felt sorry for you." That night she asked me, "Am I really yours?" I held her hand and said, "You are mine, not because I had to, but because I wanted to." Every day. Always. Now our walls are covered with drawings, poems, even a framed certificate with her new name. We keep a jar full of little slips, each memory written down from burnt pancakes to courtroom victories. She once pulled out a note and said, "This one's my favorite, the day you stayed." And you know what? She's right. Staying, that's the hardest thing and the most important. But I'll leave you with this. People still stare when they see us together. Me, a white man in a suit, her a black girl with pigtails and fire in her eyes. Some whisper charity. Some whisper scandal. Others just look confused. And every time I wonder, why is it so hard for people to believe family can be built by choice? Why is love always on trial? So tell me, if you were the judge, would you trust the paper or the promise? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because this isn't just my story and Maya's, it's about all of us, about what we believe makes a family real. And if you've ever seen love defy expectations, I want to hear it. Like this video, subscribe for more true life stories, and don't forget, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stay. It was late, the kind of New York night where the streetlights looked tired and the snow had no mercy. I remember turning that corner and seeing her, this tiny girl on a bus stop bench, clutching a paper bag like it was the last thing she had. 3 teenage boys circled her, laughing too loud, too mean. One snatched the bag right from her lap and sneered, "What's this, crackers for your crackhead mama?" She tried to grab it back, hands shaking, whispering, "Give it back." But they just mocked her harder, calling her a dirty little rat in the snow. That's when my voice came out sharper than I expected. "Hey." It cut the air clean, made them freeze. I stepped closer, black coat heavy on my shoulders, and said, "Back off. Touch her again and you'll be explaining it to the cops with your parents listening on speaker." They tried to laugh it off, but their swagger cracked and one muttered, "This guy's psycho." They dropped the bag and disappeared into the dark. She didn't cry, not anymore. She just sat there, fist tight, breath coming out like broken glass. I crouched down and said softly,